Welcome to Showdown. I'm Mark Kaysen, and today, well, it's Tuesday, October 29th. I have to tell you, time flies when you're having fun. And today we've got some interesting people coming on. First, in a very short period of time, like maybe now, Juan Figueroa. Hey, how are you, Juan?
Hello, Mark. How are you? I'm doing fine. How about you,
I
Mark?
am great. Doing excellent. And I did alert our good friend Berger that you would be on this afternoon. And he said something horrible.
Well,
I don't, I mean, I'd tell you if I remembered, but I don't even remember. But anyway, uh,
it was so bad.
yeah, but nothing bad about you, of course. Um, so first, um, tell everybody where you are right now, and let's get a little background on Puerto Rico.
Sure.
Your
Well,
background,
first of
yeah.
all, Mark, thank you very much for the invitation, Mark. It's a pleasure to see you and to join you today. Um, and it brings me back to the days that I spent back in Missouri when I was living in Festus. Yes, with our good friend Jim there.
Yeah, Jim
Um,
Berger, one of the
and
greatest, but
he's Jim, a little cranky,
a
uh,
little, a
but
little.
uh, he's a great human being, and he introduced me to pickleball, of course,
Yes.
and that was almost 7 years ago. So a good man. But
Well, I
to
don't
your
know. I'd go
question,
that far. I mean,
uh,
that might be going a little too far. Good man, but okay. I'll I'll mention that to him
he's not he's not that great.
later. No, not that great. No.
Very good. Well, so yeah, I'm living in Georgia now. I'm in
Oh,
the
okay.
Atlanta area. I'm at the moment the deputy director of something called the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation. So I'm focused on doing public interest law work in the areas of housing and domestic violence,
Okay.
and have been here for almost 2 years. And it's been great. I mean, we've been very happy with our move, and things have gone well. And needless to say, as a Puerto Rican, after Sunday and after the news of this so-called comic talking about Puerto Rico as an island of floating garbage, you might imagine the reaction that has happened all across the diaspora. The 5.8 million Puerto Ricans that live in the United States, plus the 2.3, the 3.2 that live on the island. It was a disgusting, racist remark. And the good thing about it is that I really think it's going to translate into some votes in some critical battleground states. That's going to
And
be the
and,
bottom line.
and I believe that completely. In fact, before I get into that, just mention to the viewers and listeners, your background in Puerto Rico. You were involved politically there. What did you do?
Well, yes. So I grew up on the island, and I came to the States when I was in high school. And so, politics and PR are almost like we like the kid, like a religion. So most people belong to the party that represents statehood, or the party that represents Commonwealth, or the party that represents independence, traditionally. Those lines have become blurred recently. I grew up in a family that believed in statehood, and we were all very active in politics when I was growing up on the island. Now, like happens a lot, once I got a liberal arts education case in in St. Paul, Minnesota, and eventually a law degree in Santa Clara, California. Jim, it's probably like 80 degrees at the moment. Um, I became much more sanguine about the relationship with the United States and Puerto Rico. It's basically a colony, and um, no longer believe in this the statehood as an answer necessarily. But the point is that I've been involved throughout my life. My parents lived there throughout their lives, and so I've kept the connection with the island going back and forth. Even though I've been here now for like over 40 years,
Sure.
going to school and working. So I've been very attached to the island, continue to be attached, and care a lot about what happens to my family who still live there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So talk to me about the other thing that you mentioned, which, here's what I learned this afternoon because I didn't know this. I didn't know there were 300,000 Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania.
Actually, I just read an article from the island just earlier today. That figure is more like 450,000.
Wow.
There are over 600,000 Latinos in Pennsylvania, and anywhere between 300 and 500,000 Puerto Ricans. Now, obviously, in an election where you win by 10 or 12,000 votes, uh, it is really significant. It is a very significant voting block. Um, but it goes beyond that, Mark. That's Pennsylvania, but Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin have more Puerto Ricans than the margin of victory in Biden's last election against Trump.
Wow.
Um, so North Carolina, that's another one that has. I think the figure is between 200,000 and 300,000 Puerto Ricans, or thereabouts. I know a lot of people from my hometown have moved to North Carolina. So you're talking about not just Pennsylvania, but a number of battleground states where the Puerto Rican vote will make a difference. And listen, there's no question about after what happened on Sunday. By the way, what happened on Sunday is more of the same. Um, it just happened to be in an extremely vulgar and bad taste in terms of what he said about us, but it's in keeping where Trump has been with what he's brought to the picture, the way he has treated us. I think one of the reasons why this has stung so much and why it's going to make a difference is because remember, back in 2017 when Hurricane Maria, um, we had Trump traveling to the island begrudgingly and then uh,
Paper
throwing
towels.
paper towel rolls, the famous image, uh, in a very degrading scene for both our folks and for the president of the United States of doing something like that. And then it didn't stop there. He not only threw paper towels at us, then he went out of his way to block aid after Maria, making all these sorts of baseless um, allegations about corruption that were completely baseless. And so that contributed to the time it took, to deaths, people who died because they couldn't get um, the assistance that they needed. Remember, Maria was a Category 5 hurricane that struck the island right through the entire island. And it was really, really devastating. So, what we heard on Sunday is just one other aspect of how Trump himself has treated Puerto Ricans and the island. And that's why it's really, after Sunday, it's really connecting with us, with Puerto Ricans here. Now, as I told you, there are 5.8 million Puerto Ricans in the States. We're American citizens by birth. There is no such thing as deportation. We are
Right.
not immigrants in the way that he treats other immigrants. So we're going to be going on Tuesday. We're going to be going to those polling places, and we're going to be letting our voice and vote count, particularly after Sunday.
Yeah, and the thing is, he has sort of just not much, but just a tiny bit tried to back away just a touch from what that comedian said, but it's not working because everybody knows that for the week before that he was talking about this idea of the United States being a garbage can anyway. So this was his language, and they knew what was on that prompter anyway, and beyond all of that, there's no really reasoning about some things because this one has just broken through in a way that other things should have broken through but never did.
Yes, that is true, Mark. That's very true. And yeah, the Sunday event was a chuck full of hate speeches that not only included Puerto Ricans, but they were talking about, they were doing watermelon jokes. It was anti-Semitic jokes. I mean, they had the full spectrum of the hate brigade and on Sunday. And it's true that it was more of what he represents and what he has been talking about. This one, I think, has stung in a different way, just I think because of sort of just the nastiness. Now, obviously, that comedian, I mean, he said it. Well, I said what I thought I was supposed to be doing,
Right,
given the politics of given the politics of these folks.
right.
Uh, and they've. It is true that they usually don't take back anything, and just as a measure of like how this has stung and how worried they are, they did, like you say, take it back a little bit. No, you know, the Archbishop of San Juan wrote a letter to Trump saying that taking it back is not enough, that he needs to personally apologize for all of this. And so are
Yeah.
a number of other,
Yeah,
the,
well,
the,
that's not
the
happening.
actually, the, exactly, the chair of the Republican Party in Puerto Rico demanded the same apology and said that if he doesn't get it, then they're not going to be supporting him. So, you know, there are consequences, as there should, given the egregiousness of what's happened here.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to see what happens, of course, on Tuesday in a week, but which it always would have been. But they have a way of getting these exit polls, and I just really would like to see them dig down on some of these numbers, which they will, and see where everything breaks down. Because I saw a poll this week. In fact, it was the
Mm-hmm.
ABC poll that came out yesterday, and it showed, really contrary to what everybody's been saying, that black men were actually voting more toward Kamala Harris than they did Joe Biden 4 years ago. And everybody's been saying, and of course they're just listening to Trump, that black men are somehow gravitating towards him. I don't believe it, but we'll see.
No, listen, Mark. Just this morning, I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues who happens to be an African American lawyer here in our organization, and I actually asked her, hey, do you think that this stuff that we're hearing about black men not supporting Harris is really true? Um, and what she told me is that um, there's some small bases, in fact, um, but that it's been really, really exaggerated. That when she looks around and talks to family, friends, African American family, friends, and so on and so forth, there is no such thing as a division with men uh, in a disproportionate manner going and wanting to vote for Trump. The only Trump supporters that she sees as African American males are folks that are sort of traditional discontents, malcontents, that are not satisfied with anything. But they're very much in the minority. Um, Both she and I thought that The if Trump was undercounted or underweighted in the last election, he is overweighted in this election. Would be our sense. So we both think that Harris should be able to pull it through when those numbers when that those corrections are made.
Yeah, I've been saying that exactly for a couple of months. It just seemed like some people, especially Republicans, might be afraid to say to a pollster that they're going to vote for Kamala when when that's exactly what they're getting ready to do. It's just I like use a sense, but we're going to know 1 week. Thankfully, a week. Who can take
Yeah.
any more of this?
Oh my God. Yes. Well, I voted. I voted 2 weeks. Oh no, a week and a half ago. Last week. Last week.
Yeah.
So we have early voting here in Georgia. So, yep, and we have record turnout. Now, I'm with those. It's historically true, and I think it is still true that the greater the number in early voting, that's always better for Democrats.
I think
That's
that's true, right?
even though that I think that's still true. Um, you know, the I think certainly the level of both excitement that Harris has brought to the Democratic ticket and the juxtaposition of her and her policies and her demeanor and what she's about um, has certainly galvanized both the Democratic base and youth. A lot of younger people are engaged and involved because of her candidacy. So there has to be. That's one of the reasons why Trump has continuously lamented the fact that he's not running against Joe
Right.
Biden, and that
Right.
we change candidates on him. It's like how silly. But I have a my sense on the ground is that all that enthusiasm and the youth vote is going to translate really well to a Harris doing well in the battleground states and ultimately winning the presidency.
Yeah, I think so. And of course tonight the speech at the Ellipse is so big, but I'm sure she'll do great. She does great everywhere. That the Republicans, or I should say the Trumpers, like to say that she doesn't know what she's doing and no one can understand what she believes in. I don't see any of it. I think I'm educated enough to listen to her and know that she makes sense. But there are some people out there that do parrot those words.
Well, Mark, here's the thing for me. I mean, I completely agree with those that say that it's a completely double standard because think about the gibberish, the nonsensical, the weird that comes out of Trump's mouth, whether he's
Insane.
talking about whether he's talking about policy or politics. And then you tell me that this well-trained attorney who's been a prosecutor, an attorney general, a US senator, and a candidate for president is not articulating clear clear policy proposals and is not in her rhetoric being able to connect with the American people. That's like ridiculous when you really compare it to what comes out of Trump's mouth. So I really do think that it's a double standard. That many times in the media they're holding her to like to what? Just compare it to what the other guy is saying. Well, the other guy's saying is just total like BS.
Right.
Uh, that can't be understood. I mean, when he, I mean, think about it, Mark. Right? I mean, what presidential candidate will weave in, as he calls it, Hannibal Lecter into their, into their
Yeah,
speeches?
routinely.
Oh,
I mean, it's his routine.
Routine,
It,
I know.
yeah, I mean, and then he even makes fun of the whole thing, which only makes him sound even dumber.
I know.
But
I know.
to his side, the people on Earth too, that I don't know, they think it's brilliant, I guess.
Yeah, it's really that's what's that's what's sad about the whole thing. I mean, um, to think that when you compare these two candidates, and I realize that it goes to the fact that our society is so polarized, and so we really look at it through some very narrow lens. Um, but certainly the MAGA Republicans and Trump himself are the ones who have sort of driven us into this ditch of polarization, and um, and it's true. So counting that, I mean, uh, but beyond that, um, I mean, there's just such a stark difference in terms of when you're thinking about traditionally, the kind of qualities that you're looking for a presidential candidate, um, with integrity, um, honesty, um, real passion for what America and its diversity is all about. These are the kinds of things that one should measure and put up against each other. And in that sense, it's open shut. Um, and it's too bad that because of the polarization, many people feel um, that Trump is to them a great leader, um, and it's too bad. But hopefully, and I'm this is where we need to sort of like in part buckle up in terms of our democratic institutions and what we've been all about. We get through this, we elect Kamala Harris, we get to the next stage, and it'll be a bumpy road no matter what, given what we know, given what's happened, given what we see every day. If you saw ballot burning in Oregon and Washington State, it'll be a bumpy road, but we'll get through it. We elect Harris, and we get to the next stage in our political life here in the country, and
Yeah.
hopefully this polarization will uh, will diminish. We'll see.
Here's the thing. Aside from the fact that Steve Bannon came out of jail today and said immediately that Donald Trump should quickly declare victory in the election, like now. I mean, the guy's insane. But at any rate, I mean, aside from that, I always have pointed to the Joe McCarthy example where it came down to that final day with Joe with Welch, at the
Oh,
hearings, and it was sort of the Joe McCarthy's moment of shame, disintegration, and that took 5 years to get him, and this one's taking, let's say, 8 or 9 if you go back to 2015 or 16. But the thing is,
that's true.
nothing is exact, and I do think that Puerto Rico may be, in fact, that Joe McCarthy moment of shame for Donald Trump.
Have you no decency, sir?
You bet.
Exactly. Um, you know, you're. I think you're right, Mark, because this has hit like nothing that we have seen in the campaign. This has really stung, and for good reason. Um, and it just so happens that, given the numbers of Puerto Ricans in the states, and in particular, as I mentioned, in the battleground states, in the numbers that we're talking about, this could be that pivotal moment so that we can finally
I
do
think
do
so,
it
and I
this.
hope so. Yeah, I mean, you
Well,
added some great numbers here that I didn't even know I didn't know that we had 5 million Puerto Ricans in the United States, and that's great.
Yep, we do 5.8 million in the United States.
And by the way,
Yeah, there's
speaking,
almost double the amount. Yeah.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
speaking of that, let's not forget that one of the great Puerto Ricans in the United States is AOC. I mean, that's no joke.
Yes, I know.
You know,
I know.
I mean, if Kamala Harris is president for 8 years, you know, by 2032, AOC might be, looking for this. I would think.
Well, she undoubtedly has a really, really bright future, political future ahead of
Sure.
her.
Yeah.
Given her leadership, given how she's sort of uh, how she's dealt with her in her position, um, and the fact that she's a really progressive minded leader, Puerto Rican woman in this case, who calls it like it is, but
And
has
is
worked within the
brilliant.
system
And is brilliant.
and is very, very. She's extremely smart, no question about it. So there's a bright future for her, no question about it. And I'm glad that she's our congresswoman out of New York, for sure.
Yeah.
And back to this whole thing, the with what happened on Sunday. Um, I say it because it came out shortly after AOC had come out or said something about this crude joke, so-called joke on Sunday. But you know that the Puerto Rican entertainment.
Well, okay. So, Juan, I may have lost you. And if I did, I think I'm just going to say this. Thank you very much for joining me here. And we were going to do this at 4:30 anyway, and it's 4:27. So thank you again, Juan. I'll catch up with you on Yahoo, and really, it's a pleasure to have had the conversation. So if we can drop that one, yeah, there we go. And if you, my good friend Jim, can hang on for a second, I know it says Donald Trump, but that's you're funny. And is Amy joining us as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. So hang in here a second. I'm going to do a little business, and then we'll be right back for the next half hour. Okay. So, if you're hungry, and I'll tell you, I was getting hungrier and hungrier that last half hour as I was thinking of all these huge number of voters that are coming out for Kamala after all the Puerto Rican disaster that he created. So, Wendy's is the place to go and enjoy some great food this afternoon, and all the terrific things you can get at Wendy's. Everything from the wings and the smoked meat, and I love even the hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and especially I love patty melts with lots of onions. I've talked about that, but let me add to that the salad, and I love iced tea, and it's so funny because a friend of mine this afternoon was asking me if I really thought the best thing for him to go for, because he was going to Wendy's today. I asked it, or he asked me, is it the baby back ribs? And I said, absolutely. It is the baby back ribs. That's the best. So, at least we sold a couple of baby back ribs today, along with, of course, don't forget the terrific onion rings. It's all Wendy's all the time. It's great. And in Defiance as well, same great food, Same great Ben and his wife. So that's the deal. You try Wendy's, you'll love it. And then we're going to go on and talk about some jewelry. And you can get really good jewelry. I mean, excellent, the best. And you just go to 4506 Hampton, and Jewels on Hampton is the place. My friend Al runs it and makes deals with everybody, buys and sells jewelry and coins, and just it's just a fun place to do business and be treated fairly. And like I always say, Al is just a good person. Fun to go see Al at 4506 Hampton. Even if you're not buying any jewelry, go by and say hello, because he's a good guy. You're going to love him. And of course, they also fix watches. That is Jewels on Hampton. Now today, you'll notice that I'm wearing my pink. Got a pink shirt. I've got a blue and pink tie, because actually today is Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And so, a good day to dress up in the pink. And that's where I am today. This tie, like all my ties, they come from the St. Louis Suit Company. They're excellent. Great clothing, great suits, great shoes and shirts, and of course, overcoats. And I know you're running around outside today and you're saying, overcoats, it's 88 degrees out there or something like that. But don't worry, because the weather people assure us, at least on our phones, that by tomorrow or by Thursday at the latest, the temperatures will plunge. So that's that. You need your overcoat, go to the St. Louis Suit Company and get it. And don't forget, St. Louis Suit Company ties are $5. That's crazy, but they are, and they're wonderful ties. Okay, as far as food, don't forget that the best Italian food in St. Louis, maybe anywhere in the world, including Iran for that matter, because Mehdi's from Iran. So anyway, it's Telena's. Telena's has been there for 40 years. I feel sorry for the St. Louis Suit Company. They've only been there 30 years, but Telena's 40 years, and they just keep on coming with great food. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the spaghetti and meatballs. That's it. They are terrific. Okay, so that takes care of the business. Now let's give Trump the business. Hi, you all.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Jim.
Hello. How are you?
I am doing terrific. And I'm wondering, after we just spent a half an hour talking to a buddy of mine who has been involved for many years in Puerto Rican politics, grew up in Puerto Rico, came to the United States, actually was involved in politics here in the United States as well. Naturally, coming to the United States is no big deal since they're American citizens from the beginning. And of course, Donald, I don't want to make you guys crazy, but he has threatened to deport some American citizens as well. But we won't see, because I don't think it's going to matter. But you all tell me, what do you think Puerto Rico's doing to your friend?
Why would they be doing anything to him? It was a comedian that made the comment.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you're tying Trump into this.
Well, I'll tell you two things. Number one, the speech was the jokes were vetted before they went on the teleprompter, so they knew exactly what was going out there. The second thing is Trump's the one that started this garbage can stuff last week anyway, because he said that the United States itself is one giant garbage can. And beyond that, he still won't even, he's backed away from this about that much, but he won't even apologize. And I'll tell you something, the Puerto Ricans are ready to vote. I mean, they're ready to crawl over glass to get to the polls. And as Juan pointed out here a moment ago, there are over 5 million Puerto Ricans in the United States. and they're mostly in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, which sounds like serious trouble for Donald.
I'm not sure how you want me to respond.
Well, any way you want.
Jim, do you have anything?
Here, I can tell you right now. Did you see the polls this morning by chance, Mark?
Well, the latest ones from ABC that showed that Kamala's running wild with this thing.
Well, Apple News, USA Today, there was about 3 or 4 different ones that show Trump is winning in all 7 swing states between 1 and 2.5 points. That was this morning. He's up in all 7 states according to 3 different polls.
Right. Well, at least that keeps you guys happy. By the way, here's something that I think we can agree on. I think we're going to agree on this completely. You know, this is sort of like spring training in baseball, because during spring training, you know, you could be the team that's going to lose 100 games, and you're going to say that your team is looking terrific until the actual ball games begin. And for us, the ball game begins and ends on November 5th. And at that point, all of our talking and positioning, well, it gives way to reality. And then we're going to find out where it really is.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what are we going to do after that? We're just going to get together and chit chat about silly stuff.
Well, no.
I'll be glad when it's over.
Go ahead.
This is crazy. I mean, there's just so much he said, she said. You can't trust the media. You can't trust anything. You just have to go by what you go by, and hopefully that's based on what you're seeing with your own eyes, what you're hearing with your own ears. And I'll tell you, what I'm hearing and seeing is it looks pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I admit we're 50-50 here on these things, but I want to say something about you saying that Trump said this horrible thing about America being the trash can, whatever. Are you super proud of the way America's going right now?
Very.
Are you? You're proud. So I love my country. I'm very proud of my country and the people that are in it, regardless.
And by the way, I'm proud of you two also. I just want you to know that, but go ahead. I'm serious. No, I really, I believe in free speech. But
absolutely.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree wholeheartedly in that. And I thank you for allowing us this forum to be able to have a civil conversation. There's not a lot of that going on. There needs to be more. And I do appreciate that. And I appreciate you. But I do have to say that our country's not looking great. I mean, I think a lot of people would say that calling it a trash can might be a little much, but that's just colorful speak, and I think that our country is not in a great place. And I think sometimes politicians, celebrities, they like to use colorful words to get their point across. I'm not sure exactly what comment you're referring to. I don't know, to be honest, but I'm just saying, if I had to stick up for him, and if he did say that, I would have to say I think a lot of people probably agree that our country isn't doing as great as we would like it to be.
I mean, he's frustrated. Look at where he had it 4 years ago, and look at where it's at now. It is a trash can. He's right.
Our economy is in the...
Everything's in a dump. Really is.
Right.
And it's going to be a complete disaster if somehow they find a way to win this thing.
Wait.
I don't think they will.
You guys remember that all during his presidency, hard to believe I even saying that, but anyway, during the presidency of whoever that guy is, every time
respect is due.
Yeah, I hear you. Every time the stock market went to a new high, he was on television proclaiming the greatness of his economy because the stock market was going up. And here we are with the stock market at 43,000 all-time highs. Now, I will say, because I'm an expert in markets, and I can tell you that we're running out of gas. but that's not because of Trump. I mean, or Kamala or Biden or Trump or anybody. It's just because of markets go up and down. But right now it is at a high.
You know why?
Why? No, I don't know why. I mean,
Well, you know
because
how the
people
markets. It's
because
like
people
saying,
are buying.
It's like saying, "Hi, I'm a store. I project we're going to do $300,000 this year," but that doesn't mean you made a loss. That just means you didn't make what you wanted to make. And for a lot of the Democrats, they're saying, "Oh, look at the interest rates. Look at these numbers are going up." But that's not the way it works. You know that.
Well, I know all about how it works, and I'll tell you this: markets have a way of going up or down way beyond rationality, because it's all psychological. And sometimes when it gets to the point where it looks like it's totally over in either direction, it keeps going. And that is because of psychology. That's human beings. And eventually it does end. And especially with what I see going on out here, I think the end is sooner rather than later. But I've been through this for over 50 years, and I can promise you the tops like we're going through right now have been seen over and over for the entire 50 years that I've been doing it. And it's not because of a president. It's just because that's markets.
I believe, and I'm sure you probably agree with me as well, that even though it is not their fault, the decisions that are made at that level do affect us as far as our interest rates, the inflation. There are a lot of things that are affected by the decisions that are made on that level. And you have to admit that this overspending, and you might disagree because I know you like to spend, which is what the Democrats do.
No, I do. I'm a spender. Yes.
But I think that the money is being spent in the wrong areas. Can you agree on that?
Well, I can only agree to this point of explaining it. And that is, we ought to be spending money helping people, for example, to be able to buy a first-time home like Kamala wants to do.
But that's absolutely, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, okay. I'm just saying, you're asking me, where I would spend it. I would spend it on people who are struggling in life and who find that maybe they don't have enough food and they don't have health care, or they don't have childcare, and they want to go to work and they need childcare to take care of their kids. And you know what childcare costs? $1,500 to $2,000 per month, which is unbelievable, but that's what it costs. And so somebody out there that would like to have a job and has 3 or 4 or 5 kids, I mean, they can't possibly make enough in their whole life to cover what that is. That's $10,000 a month.
I agree. Yeah. That's a huge concern.
Sure.
The problem is when groceries cost too much, when gas costs too much, you've got to pay your employees more. Now, most of the employees, I worked in a daycare when I was younger, and we made minimum wage. And it's a very difficult job. I don't know if you've ever tried to take care of 12 infants at one time, but it's not easy.
No, thanks.
It's a high turnaround, right? So
yeah, no, Amy, no thanks.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Believe me, I hear you.
Yeah.
So I get it, but they provide food at the daycare. They provide, other things that the parents obviously have to pay for, but those costs go up for the daycare as well. So they can't make it, and unfortunately, a lot of people are having to rely on family members to assist. They're going part-time to daycare if they can even afford that. I agree. That is a huge concern. I don't know what the answer is, but if we keep giving out money, I mean, where's the incentive to do better? Where's the incentive to do your best and to excel in life?
Yeah.
I get it. It's hard, but we also have to be adults and realize that if we can't afford 5 kids, we shouldn't have 5 kids. We don't need to go there right now, but I'm just saying, family planning is a huge portion that we should be helping people with. But when it comes down to the spending, I think daycare is a huge place where we should be assisting.
Sure.
I agree. But the reason it's so expensive the cost of living is higher for everyone. So of course, these mom and pop companies, which most daycares are, they can't do it.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, and this is just factual, for the last 20 years, we've been spending lots of money, and everybody, certainly everybody I know in the economics business, has been saying inflation is going to come back roaring. And that's for 20 years. And for 20 years, it didn't happen. And then suddenly, after COVID, it did happen.
Well, you had bounce back.
But wait a second. For a very short period of time, there was a spike to 9%. Now it's back down to 2.8%. And really, if you look at the commodity markets, which is really important for understanding inflation, many important commodities that spiked up have also fallen to new low levels. And one example would be lumber. Lumber got destroyed going down after it soared in that initial inflationary binge. And then also gas prices, which went way up. But gas prices, I know I just bought gas for $2.80 here in St. Louis. And that's about what it was for 2-3 years, except for during COVID when it had that spike down briefly. And Donald wants to take credit for that, which is pretty crazy. But okay, let him have it. So,
well, except for during most of Trump's presidency, when I think he averaged about $2.18 a gallon during his 4 years.
Yeah, well, only because of the $1.50 during COVID. And believe me, in the middle of COVID, when the price got destroyed, there was one period where oil went to minus $40 a barrel briefly because there was a panic, and so it went below zero, which it can do in the commodity market. So all I'm saying is, there's a lot of complicated things happening here on the economic side. And again, this is just a government statistic. For the last 1 year at the grocery store, grocery prices are up 1%.
That's insane. That's complete.
For the last year.
So,
well, they went up. They went up before that, but the last year they're up 1%. And I'll tell you, go check your eggs. You know where eggs went up to, and then they came crashing right back down.
So
but that's not most of the groceries. Most of the groceries. I was at the grocery store last night.
Is using that as a selling point. Like we just heard her say, "Listen, I get it. Meat 50% up, eggs, dairy, all of the." She even admitted the groceries are up. I think she tried to blame it on the grocery stores
price gouging,
which
that's not true.
Accurate.
I don't buy that.
I have heard that, but we
she
know
did.
And we know also with gasoline this time of year it goes down every year because
that's not exactly true.
It is true.
Like I say, I'm a market expert. That part's not true.
My husband's a gas expert.
It does before the holidays. Okay. It always does.
Well, let me say this.
Oil goes down this time. Well, I'm sorry. Gas goes down this time of year, every year, this time of year, because oil, the chemicals and the different additives that they use to make gas winter ready is you don't have to put as much in there. And so it gets cheaper.
Yeah. Well, let me give you this number. Let me give you this number. And this isn't an expert. This is just, I go to the store just like you, Jim. So for example, I love New York strip steaks, and I bought them for years at Schnucks. $13, $14 a pound. I mean, now they're like $15, $16 a pound. I mean, you're going to lose your mind over that?
No, we're not going to lose our mind over that. But you also have to understand that in this country, the food product is subpar. I mean, you might still be getting a steak that looks the same as it did 3 years ago, but I guarantee you it's not. We know our food system is.
I don't know. I loved it.
Plagued with
preservatives I bought my strip steak. It was great.
I don't think that we're using.
How much A1 did you use?
Tasted good. Wait a second. The ambulance is coming to get me. You guys can finish the show. No, I'm okay.
I got
Yeah.
some things to talk about.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I know. Let's see. Don't need a market expert to tell me the sandwich I used to get for $5 is now 15. I'll tell you something. If there's a $5 sandwich that's now 15, I don't know where that's happening. Maybe it's Mexican dollars or something. I don't know. Because, but the U.S. dollar has actually gone way up. Subway, wait a second. Somebody told me a $5 sandwich at Subway's 15. If I don't think I could find a sandwich at Subway for $15. Come on.
I haven't been there in so long. I try to stay away from
unless it feeds 10 people.
But maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe a giant Subway. Yeah.
I really don't. And I think a lot of people, they just don't have the money to eat out anymore. It used to be almost you could eat out cheaper than eating at home. Now it's kind of the other way around, which is fine because I think more people should be eating at home, cooking and having that time together. It's family bonding and eating at the table and not eating all the junk food out there. But, people are just having a hard time, period, because food is so expensive. And so I think economy is one of our biggest concerns. Economy. What do you think is our biggest concern right now? What do you think is the number one concern for Americans?
One of my for Americans, I think they're worried about immigration, but for me, I'm also worried about immigration because I'm worried that we don't have enough. I think we need to increase the number of people. And by the way, I think I mentioned this to you maybe the last time. Did you go to take a look at Reagan's 1989 farewell speech? Because I know that I had some of my students who were on the air here. I had them go check it out. And when they watched it, they came up to me at school and I asked them what they saw when they saw the speech. And they said, they said they saw a guy that was saying the same thing Mark Kason's saying.
Do you agree or disagree that politics have kind of taken a bit of a twist or a turn? The Democratic politics of the 80s and 90s to me are very different from today, and same with Republicans. In my opinion, I think things are a little different. I think it's just different. I did watch, I did watch some of Ronald Reagan's stuff. I actually took saved some videos because I wanted to discuss them and then I forgot to bring them up. But
okay, I do want to point this out, though. I'm sorry. I have a very excellent production staff here, and they found a Subway sandwich for $14.39. But I will say,
wow.
It is elite. It's I don't know if that was ever $5. That's elite. That sandwich is elite. Go ahead.
That might be
that's a sandwich for like
pizza sandwich or whatever.
That's a special sandwich for George Soros. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about that because I think that Reagan. Again, I have to point out, I think we're very close here. I think we have a lot of similarities, but I think that the media, I think we're just being divided and pushed apart. But if we just talk like we do now, we have a lot of things in common. And I think that you agreeing with some of the things that a Republican president said, Ronald Reagan back in the day, just goes to show it,
Yeah. Well,
difference.
DRC is on here saying that what I'm telling you about Ronald Reagan is misinformation, but it can't be misinformation because I played the exact speech word for word. And and it's also online. You can read the words online. And the bottom line is he said, if the United States ever stops this constant flow of immigrants across our border, that is the day that the United States will begin to die as a country.
You don't think that's perception, though? You don't think perception is the problem there?
That's Ronald Reagan's words.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the way you're perceiving what he's saying. He's not talking about illegal aliens.
No, wait.
That's the
Right.
problem I have with that.
They're only illegal because we call them illegal.
Because
But
they're coming in the wrong
You look at
way.
the
no. But
Constitution.
wait. Here's the thing. Make it legal. Just open the gates and send them across the border. Now,
That'd be smart.
no, wait. Now listen. It's not as dumb as what you think, because here's what I'm saying.
I'm thinking safety.
I want them to fill out paperwork so we know exactly who's here. I want them to be connected, because I've said, send 1 million high school graduates down to the border, some kind of a Peace Corps kind of initiative, and send them down to the border and have them teach these people how to fill out paperwork for Social Security cards, for everything that they need so that they can live here, get their kids into school, do everything to help them so that they fit in here in a safe and positive, productive way. And the argument is that 20 years from now, the country will be younger and smarter and more aggressive and hardworking. Go ahead.
Do you I mean, is there a number in your head that they should stop at?
No.
In a
Okay,
perfect
so
world, that sounds great, but in reality, we don't have the infrastructure for that.
what if they brought in 300-400 million? What about
do you
jobs?
do?
Well, they're not going to do that. So come on. I mean,
Why not?
And look, if
Everybody be coming here.
if we ended up getting 10, 12, 15, 20 million, it wouldn't do a bit of harm. And the truth is that even right now, under the conditions that we have, the people that come across that border commit fewer crimes than anybody else in the
Where do
United
you
States.
get this stuff
can't-
from?
You cannot
Who's watching these
calculate that
people?
if you don't know who's here. How do you calculate that if you
Yeah.
don't know who's here? The
The
government,
United States government calculates those numbers.
It's not a fact just because you say it.
The
across the
United
border
States
and
government says it. It comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It comes from the FBI. It comes from all these different groups that we have out here measuring what's really happening in the world.
Are you referring to the FBI, the one that isn't really doing America a lot of favors right now?
No, they
Because-
used to be bad under J. Edgar Hoover, but
Hey.
today they're okay.
Who's going to pay for all that, by the way?
Yeah,
Well,
because
we can.
are you stipulating that
rich.
these people? We are not. Are you stipulating that when these people come across that border, there's any type of regulation? They have to come with a savings account with enough money to afford their own living? Are they coming across here asking immediately for financial assistance?
No, we don't get. They don't need. They don't need financial assistance. We're not even giving it to them. In fact, many of them, if we would let them come over without, swimming across a river, they would actually come with money because they get money where they live. They get money.
Coming here.
They get money sent to them by family members who are here, encouraging them to come as well.
I thought they were leaving because they didn't have any money over there.
That's why.
Well, many of them are leaving because they're afraid they'll be murdered by their government.
So they come over here and murder us.
Well, they never do. No, they're the lowest crime committing people there are.
That's crazy.
Well,
I don't know how you
go ahead.
are positively coming up with a number.
Well, I'll tell you what. Again,
prove that.
go to my website, which is talkstl.net. That's talkstl.net. And there's a place on there. You just click. It says reading room, and you scroll down. And there's a great article. It's a university-based article with all kinds of statistics, and the statistics are all sourced, so you can find out exactly where they all come from. And it all boils down to the same thing: that migrants are the safest people in the United States.
Michael Kaysen, I noticed that he posted something. We don't usually talk about what the other people are suggesting we discuss, but killed by an AR weapon, that's another thing that we haven't really discussed on this show lately, is that with the Democrats, they are requesting that. Now I know Kamala is up and down on where she stands on this, but we know that she does want to get rid of the AR assault rifles or whatever they call
Yeah,
them.
she does. She does.
But let me ask you this: if you
Okay.
are
And by
in
the
your
way, let me say this. I apologize. I let the time slip away. We got to run. But
Okay.
look, you guys, I love you, and we'll do this again. Let's do it next week, or let's look at the election and see where all that is.
And Mark, I would really love an opportunity to just pick your brain
Okay.
off of screen, just kind of talk about some things that we've discussed a little
We
more
can
in
do,
depth.
we can do all that. That's fine.
It.
And besides which, you still owe us coming here into the studio in St. Louis.
I
So
know.
okay.
I know.
Hey, okay.
I promise.
Okay. So listen, for Wenty's, for Jules on Hampton, for the St. Louis Suit Company, and for Telena's, I'm Mark Kaysen. This is Showdown with Amy and Jim, sometimes known as Donald.
Don't forget about Autoplex of Afton.
Gotcha. Autoplex of Afton. Good night.
Good night.